Welcome to Literacy Mindset, where education leaders from across the country share strategies for improving K-12 instruction today and preparing for the challenges of tomorrow. The stakes are high. Students are facing new academic demands, and educators are navigating an ever-changing educational landscape. Each episode, we explore the most effective literacy initiatives, innovative tools, and strategies that are reshaping education. Whether you're an educator looking to improve student outcomes or passionate about driving meaningful change in schools, the Literacy Mindset brings you the insights and strategies you need to stay ahead. This is where education leadership meets real-world impact.
All right. Well, I'm excited today for the next episode on the Literacy Mindset. I have my guest today, Dr. Gennaro Piraino, Superintendent of Franklin Regional School District in Pennsylvania. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jeff. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
You bet. Really excited to dive in and talk through some of the number of the great things you have going on. But first, maybe just orient the audience a little bit to you and your pathway to Franklin, and then maybe tell us a little bit about the district.
So I've been in Franklin Regional for 12 years, but prior to Franklin Regional, I ran the gamut. I was in the Gray Latrobe School District where I grew up. I was born and raised, which is only about 24 miles doorstep to doorstep apart. Okay. But with Greater Latrobe, I taught learning support. I was an assistant high school principal. I was an elementary school principal and director of elementary education, assistant superintendent. And after 16 years, decided I accepted the opportunity to come to Franklin Regional as the superintendent of schools. I've been very blessed to work in two excellent districts with great people in both places.
Excellent. You didn't mention it there, but you do have a background in special education as well, right? You were going through.
I do, and that's one of my passions. And
it's near and dear to the hearts of us here at the Literacy Mindset, so I'm sure we're going to get into that
absolutely,
side of it as well.
Absolutely. And Franklin Regional, you might say, where's Franklin Regional? Contrary to popular belief, with the name Franklin, it's not in Philadelphia. It's on the other side of the state, and we're about 20 miles out of the center city, Pittsburgh, in Westmoreland County, right on the border. So we're the gateway to Westmoreland County. And Route 22 runs right through the district.
So what's the makeup of the district? What does it look like?
So Franklin Regional is a suburban community with some rural and urban elements. And so Route 22 is more like a business district with a highway running through it. Off of Route 22, we have McMansions in suburbia, and we also have some rural homes and farms and things of that nature. So it's really a diverse community that way. We're 82% Caucasian. We have our other 18% is comprised of students of Asian descent, as well as we have a lot of Indian students so looking at, we're diverse that way in Westmoreland County. In terms of poverty, we're sitting at about 21% poverty, 22% poverty. And prior, when I first came to Franklin Regional, we were around 10 or 11% poverty. So we've seen that poverty rate increase. So that's changed with our demographics. We're a high performing district. It typically finishes in the top 50 out of the 500 Pennsylvania districts. And so. Okay.
Well, we'll dive in and talk a little bit about how clearly we frame oftentimes here the conversations around literacy, reading intervention, and the uniqueness that special education in particular can help on that when you get into intervention. But just talk us through a little bit about what the literacy, the state of literacy looks like in Franklin. Is this a, decentralized buildings kind of decide how they want to go? Do you kind of organize and centralize it at the district? Maybe walk us through what it looks like.
So essentially, we have a core reading program that's really rooted in science, and we teach all the big ideas of reading. Interestingly enough, about 3 years ago, we moved from 3 different elementary schools where we had essentially had a core reading program, but it wasn't necessarily being delivered in the same manner with the same level of support and same level of fidelity between the three schools.
All right.
So we, as a district, looked at instruction and how we could democratize instruction, how we could create equity for all of our students.
Right.
And so we took those three elementary schools. We had one school that was on property with 100 acres, and we built a brand new 3 to 5 intermediate school.
Okay.
And we renovated an existing school on that campus into a K-2 primary center that was really redesigned to meet the developmental needs of our youngest learners. And with this, both have innovation centers to promote innovation. They both have creative and performing arts types of centers to support that development of the arts. We changed some of we put creative arts into the curriculum where every student has it to work on the listening and speaking skills. But then from a literacy standpoint, we delved into adopting a core reading program, right, building systems, MTSS systems that supported enrichment for students, as well as interventions. Right. And now every student gets an intervention if they need it, or enrichment. And that really built on a strong system of assessments to determine the needs of our students, and then really tailor the instruction toward their needs.
Got it. So the decision to go to a K-2 campus and a 3-5 campus, is that academically driven, or was it more convenience driven based on geographies and where things were at? Walk us through maybe the decision on that.
It was definitely academically driven, okay, and because we wanted all students to receive world-class instruction, and we didn't want that to be dependent upon where they live in our district or where they were zoned. And our three elementary schools were very different in terms of their demographics, in terms of their makeup, in terms of their structure, in terms of even their ability to allow high quality instruction. Our teachers were limited by the tools they were exposed to that they didn't have. And so when we moved to this building, it created space. So every classroom had space to be able to handle small group instruction, as well as engaging kids in real world problem solving. And so it really was designed around an innovative instructional vision for what learning could be, and really moving away from that focus on standardized tests and really more toward providing our students the skills they need to be successful. If you walked into any of our schools and you said, talk about the 5 C's, every single kid, for the most part, is going to be able to say, oh yeah, communication, collaboration, critical thinking, creativity, and citizenship. And then they're going to be able to talk about why they're learning what they're learning and how it applies to each of those. So that's really, it's become a mantra for our kids and for our staff. And so that's pretty exciting to see that become part of the culture.
Yeah, play out the way that you designed it to. Awesome. What do you feel like is a driver to curriculum decisions that you make, whether they are at the building levels or at the district level? What are some of the main drivers behind this decision making?
So when we look at what drives us, one is to make sure that every single one of our students progresses to the next grade at a level where they're literate, where they're ready for that success at that next level. Okay. And that we will, based upon the student needs, we will give them the time and the resources, whether that's intervention or enrichment, to really get to that level, if that's the bare minimum. Right. But even more so, if we have a lot of students that come to us that we didn't hit a triple, they were born on third base in terms of academics. And so our goal is to get them home and get so the next time that they're hitting the home run, and really giving them all the skills that they need to be successful, not just in third grade. If a third grader is reading at the third grade reading level, that's great. but it's really what they do with that. One, obviously there's a love of reading, but when we look at what our kids have to know, understand, and be able to do when they go out into the world, that literacy is critical. And it's a critical skill no matter what they go into. And so that's why it's a heavy focus for us.
Yeah, I know that's an important point. When you think about your background in special education and the emphasis on individualized education programs and what that can do for an individual student, is there anything that you've been able to leverage from that experience in how you think about, your tier one instruction and teachers that need to be personalizing maybe for kids, or differentiating or individualizing? How do you, when you've made a decision at the district level, how do you also allow for differentiation to happen?
So really differentiation, there is a lot of strategy that goes into differentiation as well, and clustering kids in placement by need, right. Using flexible grouping, so kids are moving between classrooms and between teachers, and that we're tailoring that instruction to make the differentiation doable. And so one of the things that we talk about is we look at student data, okay. and we make a lot of decisions for that tier one, tier two, tier three. It's data driven, and it's having teams of teachers coming together to talk about students by name in terms of what they need, and then beginning to design that instructional component, whether it's individualized intervention down to small group instruction based upon similar needs. And it's we almost look at it like a medical model. And so if you think of someone who is goes to a doctor for something significant, right? A lot of times you'll have a team of doctors coming together. Sure. And they're sharing their expertise, their opinions, their positions, their experiences, and they're using data to make decisions. Right,
based on the chart.
It's professional medicine at its finest.
Right. That's cool. That's a great way to
right. So we view our teachers as true professionals that bring expertise, that bring experience, that bring passion and care for the students that they serve. And when you put them together with a team, with teams of specialists who come around, and we use our PLCs as the basis for this, and we use a true MTSS model, and our teachers come together and they design instruction that either provides enrichment or so everyone's getting the tier one. But when we get to tier one, we might have a kid who's still at tier one but needs some extra help or support. Right, so when they're designing tier one or tier two or tier three, all those professionals working together to design what that student needs or what that group of students needs, and then they deliver it. And they're using a lot of data. They're utilizing a lot of research-based interventions, and they're making professional decisions on the best interests of kids. And then they turn around and they can share that with parents. And so our reading specialists and our teachers actually provide opportunities for our parents to learn strategies and ways that they can support their child in terms of their literacy at home.
That's great. I think being able to connect it to the home is an important part of a literacy journey or literate journey. You use MTSS as a framework. You talked a little bit about reading specialists, and you used the term interventions. Can you just talk about what resources do you put behind the MTSS framework relative to intervention or enrichment?
So at every grade, so at each building, we have an MTSS specialist.
Okay. So
usually we take people who are strong instructionally, right, and make them a resource. And so they don't just advise, they also help provide interventions, but they are sort of leading that initiative. They're getting data to teachers so it's manageable. They're working with teachers and specialists to design that instruction. And that's their primary role, is to provide that support. Of course, we have the reading specialists that push into classrooms and pull out based upon needs and tier of intervention, as well as our own teachers. And every teacher has gone through some extensive literacy training. We have a primary and an intermediate level teachers academy that we send our teachers to, and really have taken our teachers through that extensive reading training, so they understand why they're doing what they're doing.
Okay. I like the idea of a reading academy and an intermediate academy. I'm assuming you're referring to the grade level that the teacher is not a second edition of the academy. Is that correct?
Say that again. I'm sorry. One more time.
No. So you had a primary and a secondary reading academy.
It's intermediate. So one
intermediate.
is geared toward our youngest learners. And so when you break it off, K-2, we're teaching kids to read. We're teaching them how to decode and things of that nature. And so they're learning to read. When we're getting into that 3 to 5, the focus is reading to learn.
Right.
But they still need the levels of support. And so it looks different. And so when you look at the reading journey, decoding multisyllabic words really unlocks the key. When you look at 4th and 5th grade, our kids have to be able to decode multisyllabic words.
Right.
Because if they can't, that's when you see that drop in reading performance and a drop in understanding. When you get into middle school and high school, where you see them fall off the cliff is if they can't do that, and they're getting into complex text. Right. And then what it does, it then creates academic barriers into the general curriculum. And so we know that our kids have to be able to learn the basic decoding skills and reading and all major areas of reading, K-2. But when we're getting to 3 to 5, there's still that focus on the multisyllabic words. And so
that makes sense. One of the things we run across sometimes is you say 3-5, but even when we get into 6th, 7th, 8th grade, there are still some students at times, or whether it's through the journey or maybe from transient populations or however they might appear in your district, that are missing phonics skills, missing that. But the 7th grade teacher isn't overly versed in how to teach the phonics skills, right? She's maybe a 7th grade ELA or 7th grade English teacher. So what kind of support do you put in place for those teachers?
So it's funny you mention that. So our K to 5 all go through letters training.
Okay.
And then we're individualized. So what we've allowed is our teachers that 3 to 5 to begin specializing a little bit, so that way we can provide high levels of professional development support in mathematics and high levels of professional development and support in reading, and then we're not overwhelming them. But when we're looking at that middle school level, so some of the conversations, we have different programming in place to support kids, but what we're really, really talking about, one is we've seen the less of a need to have to do that since we've developed the MTSS and we've done it. So it's less overwhelming once they get there. But it's interesting. We're actually talking about working with some of our ELA teachers at that level to begin talking about letters and even getting them to understand why kids may not be able to access text and how they might support them. And so it's really providing that. We still have some more work to do about systems of support at the middle school, but it's a work in progress. It's really where we are. And so we have a long-term vision for Franklin Regional, and it really is having that robust MTSS system that's in a way that's developmentally and academically appropriate for the level of the student, but K to 12. And
but also having the framework for professional development for the teachers that might be anywhere on that journey. Right. Okay, that's good. Let's sort of transition a little bit to the technology, and obviously we talk a lot about technology on this podcast too, because it's so intertwined in curricular decisions and the way that we implement them in schools. What does technology look like today at Franklin Regional, just at a broad level?
So right now, today in Franklin Regional, every student has a Chromebook. Okay. That's just part of what they do. We have some students who will bring in their own devices, and we have that as well. Our teachers have had extensive training around the integration of technology into the classroom. Right. I just sat through a budget meeting today where we're doing utilization reports to determine how we prioritize all the different programs and software packages that we have to support teaching and learning. But when we look at that, we partnered with Discovery Education a number of years ago, and we created a system, and our whole system is based upon coaching and building that next level. And so who better to support teachers than teachers? And so we did training with what we called our digital ambassadors. Discovery Education calls them digital leaders, but we call them digital ambassadors because they're really ambassadors for us as administrators, as well as for the teaching staff, on best practices for the integration of technology. It's not about the shiny bells and whistles. It's about how teachers utilize it. Most importantly, how kids utilize technology to support their learning and to demonstrate mastery of their learning, as well as practice the skills that they need for success. And so we trained our digital ambassadors. We created what we called learning labs, which were their classrooms. And then it was I do, where teachers were coming in and watching them teach and engaging in discussion. Then we do, where it was modeled, and they were co-teaching some things together. And then finally got to the point where you do, and our digital ambassadors were coming in and supporting them, as well as the Discovery coaches that were here. And so we really spent a lot of time developing that digital integration mindset into our teachers. When COVID came, not everyone felt they were where they needed to be. So we shut down for the first week after all schools were closed, and our digital ambassadors provided mass customized learning for our teachers.
Oh, wow.
And we were able to go face to face back to a regular bell schedule a week into COVID. We trained families and kids and teachers, and really that's a testament to the professionals and as well as the support of the families that we were able to do what we did. And even though it seems like it was eons ago, it wasn't that long ago, we were there. And so just proud of the work that our teachers do in supporting one another and really being innovative in terms of how they integrate technology into the classroom.
Right. When you experience resistance, which you probably don't experience much, everybody probably
never.
Everything that comes from the district office. But when you do experience resistance related to technology, what does it usually center around? Are there any themes that you have noticed or things that teachers resist more than others?
I think if you make things too complex, right? Sometimes people use technology just to say that they're using technology, and it doesn't simplify your life.
Right.
It doesn't automate. It doesn't make it easier. Then people get frustrated. And so the key is to make sure that when you're making decisions to use technology, it's just not using it for technology's sake, that we're really using it in a way that either makes student outcomes better or it makes the life of the professional better so they can focus more of their attention on their learners.
Got it. And when you define better in that way, is it easier? Is it I can do something more efficiently? Is there a way that you define better?
No, I think a lot of times it can be efficiency.
Okay.
I think it can, if it makes what you do more powerful, more impactful, people don't tend to resist that. But if you're giving them a piece of technology and saying, please use this, and it makes their life more complex, or it's a slower process, people resist that. Or if it makes them feel very uncomfortable. And so with technology, it's really about providing the level of support. If we believe it's impactful for students, we provide them the level of support to make it more automatic for them, to make it simpler, to get them there. But if we're handing them, I'll give you a business function. You have to complete this form to go on in paper form to go on professional development.
Okay.
But at the same time, you also have to do this online, and you're duplicating your efforts. Why am I duplicating my efforts? Why is it not streamlining it? Or if it's easier to fill out this form than use the software program, then why am I not just filling out the form?
Right.
And so it's really it's common sense stuff from my standpoint. It doesn't mean that we don't once in a while come out with humdingers in terms of technology.
They're like, that actually is duplicating my work.
Yeah, and a lot of times, really, because our staff is so savvy, it's not us coming to them; it's them
They're usually
coming to
bringing
us.
stuff to you. Hmm.
Right, and a lot of times, so our foundation has we created a Franklin Regional Panther Foundation, and we do different things to raise money. And our foundation board is made up of community folks who are well intentioned and will work at it. What we found is a lot of times through this heavy focus on assessment, that the creativity was drummed out of teaching.
Right.
That innovative spirit was lost, that entrepreneurial spirit. So what we did was we created innovation grants, and we actually partnered with one of our local car dealers who sponsored some of them, and we created innovation grants. And we made it competitive, and our teachers could apply for these innovation grants for not the things that you see every day, but new ideas, things they wanted to pilot, things that were a little out of the ordinary, things that would make the learning experience world-class for students. And then they could apply for that. And the foundation has given out grants that range from $50,000 to $3,000 to really promote that innovation. And then when things work, we might purchase that technology, and that teacher or whoever proposed the idea is actually providing professional development to their colleagues. So that's really when I first started with technology, there may have been more resistance to that. Now you don't see that. You walk into a classroom, and every teacher is using their Promethean boards and using the technology that's built into those, and they're using all kinds of different things: artificial intelligence, 3D printers, laser cutters. It's all, we have those in the buildings, and they're utilizing that technology to have kids demonstrate mastery of learning or build upon concepts that they've learned in class.
All right. Well, since you went there, I'll go ahead and keep us there for a second. Right. You mentioned if it makes it more complex, or is there a business purpose? Talk to me a little bit about AI, generative AI, what's happening in Franklin Regional, and how are you defining frameworks around it? It sounds like you just said that they're using it in classrooms. How have you gone about the decision-making process?
So we're still wrestling with AI. So I'm sure, I know for a fact we have people that say we should shut that down and not allow it to ever be used. It weakens our ability to think critically and creatively and so forth and so on. We have some staff that really recognize, and I'm sort of on their side on this, and I have board members across the spectrum on this as well.
I bet. Our
kids are going to go out into an AI world, and they're going to have opportunities to use AI. Matter of fact, there's going to be an expectation for what they do, not only in the world of work, but their home. And they're going to have to make decisions on how to use it ethically and how to use it appropriately. And then if they're not effective at using it, they're at a competitive disadvantage. Those classrooms are a safe place to really teach that to our students. How do you effectively and efficiently use it? How do you use it in a way that is ethical, that is not stealing from other people?
Right.
It's not taking other ideas and making them your own. How do you take an idea when, how many kids would get stuck and they couldn't get past the brainstorming?
Right.
How can AI help you with brainstorming to give you beginning to give you ideas to expand upon?
Right.
Take and wrestle with. And
so have you implemented policies that allow for that, or are you kind of letting each teacher feel it out on their own?
It's sort of organic right now.
Okay.
There's some pressure to begin formalizing some policy around it. We do have some draft policies that we're using. Like I said, our board ultimately adopts policies. And so they're actually having those discussions in the policy room around AI. And so at the same time, we're looking at creating advanced career academies. And so we hopefully, we're waiting to hear from about a grant from the the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania that will really spark the development of. We're going to develop it, but the development of an advanced career or advanced technology career academy,
Okay.
where our students will go in and they will, part of their day and their lab experience will be intensely focused on advanced technologies like artificial intelligence, robotics, as well as the computer science programming, drones, and really it'll become what they delve into. All of our students should have those types of experiences. But we're also talking about changing some of our regular curriculum to transform the 11th and 12th grade. And so they might be taking ethics and ethical use of technology, ethics in technology, and having debates around how do you ethically use technology. They may their physics class may change completely to so you might have the same core physics components, but with a significant study during the labs on how that applies to technology and how technology can replicate the same motion and patterns over and over again, and how physics apply to that. And so it's really transforming how kids learn and really letting them go after their passions, their hopes and dreams. And so technology is a huge part of that. So we're also talking about a medical career academy where we're preparing future nurses and doctors, and partnering with our local hospital to use to begin having our kids, even from a robotic standpoint, how does technology apply to medicine, robotic surgeries, things of that nature, and
Wow,
artificial intelligence in medicine. There are so many areas. And then the third academy we're looking, advanced career academy, is we're looking at business and entrepreneurship. Okay. And so then you take either of those two areas, and how do I make money?
How do you go?
Right. How do I create solutions?
Right.
Exactly.
To do that. Those are incredible innovations and a little unique relative to the public school system. Love hearing about it. Obviously, to be able to do that, you have to have a pretty solid literacy foundation, right? To be able to go to the next level on that. And I'm sure that's something that you're communicating pretty clearly to the staff. It's
funny, yeah, because so our kids, you look at medicine and the root of medicine in the Latin language and things of that nature. That decoding, the ability to decode is critical. The understanding of root words and things of that nature to be able to access those types of things. If our kids can't master those at young ages, one of our high school classes we're talking about is medical writing and terminology. Well, our students have to be able to access that text. And, I have a son who's a nurse, and sitting around at night, some of the things that he's 22 years old, and some of the things that come out that he's talking about, I recognize the root, and the level of vocabulary is pretty amazing and intense. Our kids have to be prepared for that.
Right. No, I love the way that you're putting that together, and it's kind of piecing together all fronts, right, between the curricula of high quality instructional practices that leads to, and then pairs with technology, which can lead to. So that's just a great way of piecing it all together.
Right. Well, not only that, we have a lot of students who take college classes while they're here. They're taking we have 7 partner universities. Our local community college, we do a lot of college in the high school as well as the dual enrollment, so that kids are graduating with associate degrees. Now we're talking about graduating with associate degrees.
Right.
Yeah, right. And in technology, advanced technology, associate degrees in medical studies and those types of things, with partnerships now through our local health network that's looking at 4-year schools. And so it goes from the high school to the 2-year degree to the post-secondary degree and beyond. And kids have to be able to read. Literacy cannot be the barrier to their success.
Right. No, I love that, boy, and I feel like we could talk all day long about this. This is it's really captivating, and some of the things that you're doing is unique and hopefully something that people can learn from. Maybe reach out to you about. Let's wrap up with the final question today. I always like to to ask you to pull out your crystal ball and give us some lens or view into the future, 5 to 10 years from now. What do you feel like is a trend that you want to see more of, that maybe you're doing a little bit, or you think you will see more of, and maybe what's something that you're hoping that you see a little less of in the future?
I can give you a little bit of both, and
Okay.
and obviously, we're recognized as a lighthouse system because we're forward focused and we're always future focused. I'm really proud of that. I think the type of work we're talking about right now, about transforming learning, where kids are engaged in real world problem solving, that they can see a clear pathway to their future, and it went from a system where kids come into kindergarten and love learning, and we spend 12 years beating it out of them, to one where we let them pursue their hopes and dreams and find their areas of passion and apply them to their learning. And really, I think that's where we're going. It's that customization. I think it's that ability to learn anytime, any place, anywhere. The things that mean the most to you, that inspire you as a learner and as a person, I think, and I want to see more of that. I want that for my kids. I want that for my grandkids someday.
Right.
What I want to see less of, I'm going to tell you right now, and I hope we get there, is the standardized testing that happens that does not necessarily measure what our students have to know, understand, or be able to do, or does not really measure if they're literate. And really move away from that as a way to sort and select schools, and really transform how we provide accountability to schools in ways that matter to the local community, that really measure the learning that's happening, and so it's that benefits-based accountability model. I see us eventually getting to that point. Instead of sending millions and millions of dollars or billions of dollars to the testing industry, really focus that money back into those things that matter in the educational experience of our kids.
No, I love that. Thank you for sharing that. I think it's something we all like to see a little bit less of as we really start to get to this new world of charting our educational journey and knowing where we're at along that way, without having to have sort of the antiquated high stakes testing maybe that has proliferated our schools. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I've loved every minute of it. I appreciate the conversation. Like I said, I'm sure you're going to be hearing from folks about all the innovative things that you're doing, and hopefully we'll get to connect again soon.
Hey, listen, I have a great team that we're willing to support everyone, because when we help one another, all boats rise. Thank you for the opportunity, and thanks for the work that you do to promote literacy.
Thanks for tuning in. If you found today's conversation insightful, be sure to subscribe to Literacy Mindset. You can also follow us on LinkedIn and YouTube for updates, resources, and to join the conversation. Have a topic you'd like us to explore? Let us know. We'd love to hear from you. Until next time.